Hello and welcome back to Western Conference Elitists. My name is Ezra Burke, and we're going to do a little draft prospect preview and breakdown. I've spent the last month and a bit, ever since kind of the end of the NBA Finals, just digging into these prospects, and I'm going to show you first the top 5 guys and how I feel they did in the Summer League, and then I'm going to show you some of the guys that I like the most, who I think are going under the radar, who I expect to make all-rookie teams. But let's start with Alex Sarr. He is my 7th ranked prospect. He's a 7'1", 205-pound power forward. If we're being honest, he's not a center. Think Jabari Smith. I wouldn't think Evan Mobley because I don't think that his rim presence is there. Evan Mobley has a serious rim presence, and you'll see here he's smooth. There's not a lot of those kinds of plays for him, but he's definitely smooth. But I wouldn't say that the force is there around the rim. Here in Summer League, they're using him on the perimeter to kind of set screens and almost in a Sabonis-like. That's cute. It'll work in Summer League. I don't think it'll work when people just simply don't respect his outside game. Some of the numbers aren't great. He shot 26% from 3 last year in Perth. He was a 6th man in Perth. He did not start. I think that's important to note because he was kind of a gadget, and I don't expect him to come in and be a first-team all-rookie guy. I don't expect him to be an all-defensive candidate anytime soon, although we'll see some things where it works. The three-point shot is the key, and we're going to see it here. It's just not respectable at the moment. Anything below 30 is, in my opinion, not respectable, and thus an absolute flaw for a player. And we see with Sarr that nobody's guarding him because anytime he takes a 3, it's a bad shot. He has a mid-range game that he relies on. You'll see it here. But you really want him to bully more. And on that play, he's got a guard on him, and he doesn't really have that bully move. He can't finish strong at the rim. He needs some help with the footwork. He needs better touch, to be honest, better power. I'm not very high on him. I would not have taken him 2nd overall. We'll get to who maybe I would have taken. The three-point shot is very rigid. It's not a quick release at all, and you get a hand up and you feel like you're fine. He's leaning back there. I don't like it. I'm not a huge fan. I had him ranked 7th. There may be games where he looks like I understand why the Wizards took it, and I think it may have been the right decision for the Wizards because they have absolutely nothing going on. Here's kind of his play on defense, right? So he can guard on the perimeter because he's pretty fast. Although he jumps right there, whatever, gets back into positioning, and now he can take the guard on the perimeter. And so this is kind of what the Wizards are looking at, like, wow, look at our guy, because his perimeter defense is above average. In fact, it's quite good, and so he can do it. The problem is, and this is the Evan Mobley problem, and this is the Jabari Smith problem, is he a 4 or a 5? And I believe that unlike Jabari Smith and unlike Evan Mobley, he has no chance of becoming a 5, whereas those guys can. I don't think he has the strength. I don't think he's not as big as those guys. He weighs less than both of them. While he is 7'1", I think he's a power forward. I don't believe he can play the 5 and rebound well enough. That's a big problem with him. He's not a particularly great rebounder. And so if he's always playing against another non-shooting 5, then we have issues. And so Alex Sarr is my 7th ranked prospect. He obviously had a pretty poor summer league, including one extremely poor game. I think he may make an all-rookie 2nd team, but I don't even think he's my favorite. He's not my favorite rookie on his own team, and we'll get to the other one later. My next is Zachary Risacher. That is how you pronounce his name. He is my 2nd ranked prospect, and he may go to number 1 by the time the season starts. Think a 3-and-D power forward, except the D is a little different. He's not quite a, Jaden McDaniels, Mikal Bridges lockdown on the perimeter. He doesn't have the wingspan for it. That's important to note. But what he can do is provide excellent interior defense, and that three-point stroke is 40%. He is a true 40% three-point shooter. He played 86 games, I believe, last year in France with Borg. I believe in the shot. It's smooth. He catches it smoothly. His feet could be pointed. Like, he gets the shot off. Step back maybe couldn't come over sometime. And he has a slashing game that is probably good enough. But once again, it's just that shot that made me fall in love with him. I would have taken him number 1 overall. Well, I think I would have if I was in Atlanta. We'll get to maybe some other players who have impressed me now. I don't expect him to be dribbling the ball this much. I don't think it'll work that well in the NBA. Summer League, once again, excellent dribblers look even better. Poor dribblers look even better. Like, this is basically a half-speed game when you're looking at those kind of passes and rebounds. But he has the ability to push it, kind of like a Derrick Jones Jr. style, where it's like, okay, or Josh Green, where it's like, he can do it, but I don't think it's a great part of the offense. But it's the shooting stroke. He starts up high, he gets the shot off quick, and he's a knockdown shooter. And so I'm all in on Zachary Risacher. I think he's a quality role player in the NBA. Here's the thing, and the defense is a part of it. So this is a perimeter defense. It's not great because he doesn't have the wingspan to keep people in front of him. But what he is an excellent interior defender, as you see with the blocks, and then he turns it into transition like nobody else. He's got a low-key above-the-rim game. So he's got the, at the rim ability, and he's got the recovery blocks. He can play the low post. He can, almost like an Amin Thompson, I believe, kind of exert his force on the rim. And I think that that's really something important to watch out for. And I think it could be a new wave of power forward where, look, as a small forward, you want to be 3-and-D on the wing. As a power forward, can you be a knockdown three-point shooter while also providing some rim presence and good enough perimeter defense to guard maybe like a Karl Anthony Towns? Or he's a bit big, but like Tobias Harris is kind of the easy one. And now let's get to Reed Sheppard. Reed Sheppard was probably the winner of Summer League, right? And I do want to caution, the handle looks great, and the mid-range, he looks like an absolute bucket getter, and I believe he is. He's my 8th-ranked prospect, but he's money from three. You have to start there, and in fact, it's disrespectful of me not to. He is a money three-point shooter, 50%, one of 2 college players to ever do that and get drafted in the first round, Glenn Rice being the other. He's a money three-point shooter, and if you leave him open, look at this. I mean, it's just like layup lines for him. And so I'm very high on his ability to make threes. That's not really saying something. What I'm looking at is I'm just looking at playoff basketball, and I don't believe Reed Sheppard belongs in playoff basketball because I think he'll get hunted. Think of him as kind of a, ceiling Kyle Lowry guy with a knockdown three-point shot, which would be great. But I think it's more of a closer comparison to Peyton Pritchard, where it's a gadget that you can use in the playoffs, but it's just not necessarily going to be something that you can build a core of a team around. I think he's a 6th Man of the Year candidate immediately. I think he'll win a 6th Man of the Year award sometime in his career, honestly, because I think that's where he'll excel, because he'll just get picked on by, you could just imagine Luka, just every play, just I want him, and he can't play in those kinds of games. Cam Whitmore there, looking really nice. But, the three-point shot is there, and it's incredible. He's the best shooter in this class. He's the best shooter in any class, really, I've ever seen. But he's tiny. He's 6'1", and though the vert does help him, and it makes up for a lot, as you can see, he kind of has the jump, and he could, he's not Alex Caruso in terms of defense. He's just not. He's more of an Austin Reeves type, maybe. And Austin Reeves is just not that valuable, honestly. I'm not that high on Austin Reeves. But look, it looks great. And I think, that's Dalton Connect on the perimeter. That's not necessarily much of a opposite force. So I think Summer League is very kind to players like Reed Sheppard who are crafty and who can take advantage of just slower defense and just bad schemes and find their spots and make shots. So I think, I call myself a Reed Sheppard hater. I don't hate him. I'm not a believer. But I also am not going to sit here and say that Summer League really changed my mind because, he's getting buckets. I understand it, but, let's see it against real NBA caliber defenses. I don't really believe in it. Defensively, he's got good hands, which is important. He's got good hands, and he can get his hands on the ball and poke it out, which is great. He led the nation in steals last year with Kentucky. Awesome. But the perimeter defense is just not there. He jumps passing lanes great. The perimeter defense is just not there because he's 6'1". Post defense, I could imagine I don't need to imagine. It's awful. He's 6'1". yeah, he'll do that, and he'll run. But I'd rather have a guy like Ricochet, where it's like you're a positive on defense, and the 3-point shot is good enough. Like, I'll take the 10% trade in 3-point shot for just a much better defender, which is why I believe Ricochet is the better prospect. And I'm a little disappointed to see reports out that the Hawks should be regretting their pick. I just don't think that's true. But I think Reed Sheppard will win the Sixth Man of the Year. Now it's time for Stephon Castle. He's my third-ranked prospect, and after Summer League, he may be my number one prospect. He absolutely looked incredible. The number one question on him was the shooting, because the defense was there. You could just see it. Perimeter defense, he is a hound. Think Davion Mitchell, but he's 6'5", and he's bigger, and he's faster, and he could block shots, actually. The question was, is he a point guard, and can he shoot? Well, in the Summer League, they gave him full point guard responsibilities, and you could see there he made some great passes. You're going to see a lot more here. They had him dribbling the ball up, and the three-point shot actually went in at a very high clip in Summer League. And I get it, like getting to your spots, but this was the big question with Stephon Castle: is can he shoot in games, or is he literally going to have people playing 8 feet off of him? And I was impressed with his shot making. We're going to see a little bit here, and he looks so smooth when he gets into the lane, and he has great touch. I am extremely high on Stephon Castle now. I think he's almost like a Devin Vassell type player, where he can just get to his spots, get buckets, dribble the ball, and play plus defense. And those are the kind of guys you want around Wembanyama. I think this is a home run pick. And, if I wanted to go even higher with a ceiling, I would say, look, he's got Chris Paul next to him. And what happened last time we saw a big guard who was good defensively, maybe a questionable three-point shot, play next to Chris Paul? It was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And we all know how that turned out. And so I believe Stephon Castle has all-star potential. I'm not saying he's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't think anybody is. But I think he has all-star potential. And give him a year with Chris Paul and give him, the keys to three-point line. Like, I think he just needs to shoot, and we're going to see it here. Like, the form looks pretty good. And I think with Chris Paul setting him up, with Wemby, having so much gravity that the three-point lines can be open, I am a big fan of Stephon Castle. I think he'll be an all-rookie first-teamer, maybe rookie of the year, because, he's got the craftiness, he's got the touch on the rim, and the three-point shot is a work in progress, but it's going in Summer League, and so I can only, right here, corner three, this is so important for him. And he drills it, and the shot form looks great. He pushes the ball, he's playing point guard. I don't know if he is a point guard, but we'll see. Chris Paul is going to be the point guard for them this year. So I think it's a home run pick. I'm very high on Stephon Castle. Ron Holland is next. Ron Holland, I had mocked fifth to the Pistons in my mock draft, so I was very happy to get that one right. He is kind of a true small forward. He's only 6'5", but he is an absolute force defensively, and he runs like the wind. He has such a high motor, and of course, he's great above the rim ability, as you'll see right there. Ron Holland, for me, is one of my favorite lottery ticket picks because I think the shot is there, as we'll see right here. The form looks pretty good. And importantly, he has the confidence. What we see with Ben Simmons and others is that there's just no confidence, and Ron Holland has the confidence in his three-point shot. So I think that's important. I'm actually extremely unhappy that he's in Detroit. I had him going to Detroit, but I was really not happy about it. I would love to see Ron Holland, kind of grow as a shooter, and we've just seen it with Ivy and Oscar Thompson. I don't really know what Detroit's trying to do there. They have a lot of similar guys. Oscar Thompson, he's a tragic three-point shooter, but he's very similar. And so I'm just not that high on his ceiling this year, but I'm very high on him in general. One of my favorite little prospects is Tidjane Salaün. He is from France. He's 18 years old. He is a stretch four with dribbling ability. He's 18, which is important. I love the pick for Charlotte. I think he's a Bridges replacement. I think he'll be a quality starting player in the NBA. Here he is pushing in transition. I get it, it's Summer League. Okay, he doesn't have to do that much. And the three-point shot is good enough. It was low 30s last year, but he's 18 and the form is good. And you can make some tweaks, and he has all the hustle that you need. He cuts. He finishes at the rim very well. He has a good above-the-rim ability. And here's a three-point shot. There's a bit of a hitch to it, but I believe in it. I think it'll get better with time, and I think that he's an incredible piece to add. I had him mocked 8th to San Antonio, so I wasn't really shocked when he went 7th, but it was definitely a big pick. I think he is going to be a good role player in the NBA. We'll see if it's this year. I don't expect it to be this year, but we'll see. Now for my favorite Wizards prospect, Bub Carrington. Bub Carrington has all the tools to be an NBA point guard. He can dribble, he can shoot, he can create his own shots, and he can pass off the dribble and not off the dribble, and he can catch and shoot. I am extremely high on Bub Carrington. I think he's going to be the best player on the Wizards this year, now that they've traded Avdia. And I think he'll be an all-rookie player. In Pitt, he was the master at hitting just tough shots, and you see it here. He is comfortable off the dribble, off the pick and roll. I think he can have an interesting pick and roll with Sarr. He is a hound down low, kind of. He plays tougher than he is, which is always important. But he's comfortable with no space. And look at that. I mean, he has eyes all over the court. I'm extremely high on Bub Carrington. I think that his shot creating and his playmaking make him a quality NBA point guard. And, with high potential, maybe all-star potential. Tristan da Silva is probably my favorite all-around player in this draft. Although I don't like where he ended up going. I don't love the fit in Orlando. But I had him mocked to the Lakers right before then. But obviously, if Dalton Knecht falls, I understand it. But Tristan da Silva is kind of the perfect NBA power forward. Good rebounder. Was in the top percentiles in rebounding last year in Colorado. He is 22, 23, I think. So people are a little scared of that. He's an excellent shooter. Catch and shoot, off the dribble. You'll see it all. He even has a bit of a step back. So three-point shooting is not something to worry about. He can dribble and he can create. He was asked to do it in Colorado. He's kind of the best player on their team with Cody Williams, who's also an interesting player in Utah. But Da Silva, I think, is just a great piece. I don't love the fit in Orlando because I think he thrives on space. He needs a little more space, and Orlando doesn't have any. So I'm worried they're going to just keep him in the corner. I think he could do more. I think the Lakers would be a really interesting place for him to play along LeBron and Anthony Davis because he can play big. He could get in the post. He has good touch, and he's just a knockdown three-point shooter. So I expect him to put up big numbers. I think he's going to stuff stat sheets, and he's maybe my favorite, at-price player in the draft because he just has so many. He's just such a toolsy offensive player that he can get buckets in so many different ways and in all the important ways. I mean, this is a quick catch and shoot with a contest, and he makes it. He drills it right in front of the defense. Da Silva, I believe, is going to be a quality starter in the NBA. I mean, he crashes the boards. He finishes the rim nicely. He's big enough. He's around 6'9", that he can. He's not a minus on defense. Like, I'm not saying he's definitely not a good perimeter defender. I wouldn't put him on the perimeter, but he can create steals, and like that's kind of what we're looking for in this draft. Is just guys who have the right tools and who can kind of play the right way. So I'm very high on Da Silva. He has range. He has the tools. He has the craftiness. He is an NBA power forward, if I've ever seen one, a modern-day power forward in the NBA. So I think Da Silva is really an intriguing fit in Orlando because he can shoot probably better than anybody on the roster, honestly. Maybe KCP is a better three-point shooter, but I think he's the second-best three-point shooter on the Orlando Magic roster. And so they're going to need him, and I think he'll come through for them. He could play along Paolo actually quite well, and maybe even Wendell Carter Jr. So I'm very high on Tristan Da Silva. Watch him in all rookie conversations. And I have to mention Donovan Clingan. It wasn't a great. He was my first player on my big board because you just know what you're getting. He looks slow. He just looks slow in Portland. He almost looked like he gained some weight. I didn't love the summer league for him. It was quite poor actually, but he is a shot blocker and he can move on defense. And I think he'll get better with time and coaching. Just real quick, I want to run you guys through my draft grades and my big board. I think the first thing to look at is on my big board, 3 through 5, Castle, Knecht, Dillingham. Those are the 3 dynamic guards in the class. They're the 3 best guards in the class. I think Bub Carrington has a chance to break through to that. Topic we'll see next year. I'll talk about him next year. Devin Carter is also hurt. But those are 3 guards that I think have absolute instant impact capabilities in the NBA, and I expect them to. I think they'll help a lot. Minnesota, I think, got a really good kind of Jordan Clarkson-esque player at the moment with higher upside later on to kind of add to a slow, less dynamic offense. As usual, if you have any questions, get at me in the comments. I'm happy to answer any of them. If you have any requests for more videos, I'm happy to make them. So thank you for watching. Like and subscribe.